Please welcome Benedict Allen.
Thank you. Thank you, Alistair. Hello. Good evening. You might know Frank Gardner from his TV broadcasts. He's on the news and that sort of thing, telling us about terrorist outrages, Al-Qaeda. I first met him at a party. He thought it was hilarious that I'd gone through a ceremony to make me a man as strong as a crocodile. And one of his tricks was to get me to lift up my shirt and show my scars and then tweet this image. But he was also very, very serious about one thing, which was I knew about Papua New Guinea. He said, that's the place I've always wanted to go to because I want to see birds of paradise, and I don't think I ever will. And I said, I'm your man, I'll get you there somehow. And I thought it'd be fairly simple. You know, we get the bird in some sort of way, stuff it. There we were, suddenly, one day in Papua New Guinea, facing the reality of the world's largest tropical island, a man in a wheelchair. I'm someone who doesn't actually travel with other people, I have to say, and I was starting to get a little bit worried about how to get this person through the forest. I say I don't travel with people. Of course, I travel with local people. And this is a photo of me 30 years ago. I made first contact with these people called the Yaifo, who turned out to be very, very friendly people and delightful in every single way. I'm so excited, actually, seeing myself there today because I was so immaculately dressed, better dressed than I am this evening. And I say they were so kind. They very, very kindly gave me some birds of paradise live. And of course, we had them for supper that evening, boiled. I'm joking. No, we actually roasted them. Anyway, I didn't want to tell Frank too much about my eating habits. I was a bit worried, but I was regaling him with one of these tales and feeling a little bit uneasy. You can actually see him adopting the brace position for one of my jokes here. But Frank, who was meant to be vulnerable, was actually the one that was happy at the moment. He was seeing his birds, his egrets, his herons. I was getting increasingly worried because suddenly I was remembering this time I had 30 years ago. I thought it was well back in my past, but it was suddenly coming back, as it were, to haunt me. The River Sepik, where I'd been all those years ago, hadn't changed. And this is what I looked like after a month of undergoing this ceremony to make me a man as strong as a crocodile, which, as Frank pointed out, didn't particularly work in my case. But this is the sort of thing I was remembering. This is day one of the initiation ceremony when we were cut repeatedly with bamboo blades. I don't know, it's just not my sort of thing. I don't know about you. And I don't know if any of you have got a phobia. I discovered I had a phobia against being cut repeatedly with bamboo blades. And the cuts went all the way down the back, all the way down the front as well. These are the crocodile initiation marks. But the worst thing was that these were just the markings. Now, unfortunately, we had to earn our markings because we thought this was the worst day of our lives. No, it turns out it's one of the better days because we were now told to dance happily around the spirit house while all the old men came and thrashed us with sticks. This went on 4 times a day, every single day, until we were men as strong as crocodiles. Yeah, I was getting a little bit fed up with it after about a month, I have to say. Luckily, I went to one of those public schools you read about, you know, and it sort of helped. And I was regaling Frank about this past life I used to have. Obviously, he was riveted, as you can see. Luckily, I had my adopted father with me in the canoe as we approached the village of Kandangay, where I'd been all those years before. And it really was very, very reassuring until these people turned up. I was now being welcomed back to the village. Absolutely extraordinary to me that I was even remembered. Frank said, this is absolutely wonderful. I can't believe I'm with you, Frank, with you, Benedict. You've been welcomed back after all this time. The music, the look of all these people is absolutely glorious. And I said, yes, that's the music they used to beat us to, Frank. And you have to remember, this is a place where people don't leave. There's no word in Nyara, the language of Kandangay, for goodbye. Everyone's stuck here for life. And now I was coming back to the village, feeling an incredible sense of trepidation, really. And that feeling that you get, you know, when you go to a family wedding and you suddenly realize you don't know who everyone is and you're wondering, oh dear, I should recognize that person. I was looking in the faces thinking, oh, do I know you or do I not? Everyone was covered with about an inch of makeup, making it worse. It's like looking at great Aunt Agatha thinking, oh dear, I'm sure I know you from somewhere. Those two characters I've just shown you, they're called Norbert and Nesbit. There's Norbert and there's Nesbit. These are the initiates that I was with all those years ago. And of the 30 here, 11 had died in my absence. That is how tough it was out there in New Guinea, and that, of course, is why the people there look to the crocodile as their role model. Tough animal. But as I said, I was remembered. There's a little photo of my family from Hampshire and Shepherd's Bush as well, and that's me with a rather dodgy waistcoat. But this lady, Emma, she was in the canoe that brought me into the village 30 years ago. She remembered it every little moment, as did people in the village. And a huge, wonderful moment it was to realize how much I was remembered. And now the village launched us off into the forest as we headed deeper into the interior in search of these birds of paradise, worried all the time about Frank, of course. But the great thing was, this started out as a little dream at that party you saw earlier. Just two blokes chatting about how wonderful it would be to get out here. Now whole villages were helping us through the forest, passing Frank along, remembering, of course, that if he was dropped even once, the whole expedition would be over. Luckily, the locals said that they're very used to carrying dead bodies over that particular mountain, so they were very, very gentle about them. But joking aside, there were tough moments, and of course, perhaps if there's anything you want to achieve in life, there will be tough moments. If you want your paradise, if you want your special bird, you've got to perhaps go through hell. And I'm afraid that also happened to Frank. At one stage, he had to be evacuated by a helicopter and decided eventually to come back again. But that decision really was forced on him by a medic. He really wanted to carry on to the end of his goal till he found his birds of paradise. I just want to end on a slightly different note. Frank said to me, look, I know I've been in pain quite a lot here, but actually it's all been worth it, because when I sat in Saudi Arabia thinking I was going to die, I thought I'll never ever see birds of paradise, and now I've got out to New Guinea. Who would have thought I'd ever get this far deep into the jungle? And eventually we did find those birds of paradise. But he said to me, it's all been worth it, Benedict, because every day is a bonus. And that's how I came away from the expedition feeling. Every day is a bonus. And that's the thought I'd like to share with you tonight. Frank and I are both people who've almost died quite a few times in various parts of the world. But it's not about that, is it? It's about, no, I know it's funny for you. I was the one being shot at, same with Frank. Anyway, we survived. And actually, it's about the opposite of that, isn't it? It's not about how many times you might have died. It's about how much potential you find in yourself, and in fact, how much you live. Thank you.